It was just a scan, but now the alien girl can't look him in the eyes. First contact. Commander Zara Novik wiped sweat from her brow as she stepped out of the transport shuttle. The air on Novaris 7 felt thick and heavy, tinged with a peculiar metallic scent that made her nostrils flare. After 6 weeks in cryosleep during the journey, her muscles protested every movement, but she forced herself to stand tall as she surveyed the alien landscape. The diplomatic mission to establish first formal contact with the Novarians was too important for her to show any weakness. As Earth's foremost xenobiologist and military liaison, Zara had been handpicked for this assignment after the initial discovery team had made tentative contact 3 months ago. Impressive, isn't it? Lieutenant Ravi Patel appeared at her side, his dark eyes reflecting the strange blue-tinted sun overhead. Those structures look like they're growing rather than built. Zara nodded, studying the spiraling crystalline towers that dominated the horizon. The Novarian architecture seemed to blend seamlessly with the natural rock formations, as if the entire city had been cultivated rather than constructed. "Remember the briefing," she murmured. "Novarians consider architecture an extension of their biology. Their buildings are partially grown using modified versions of their own cellular structure." "Creepy," Ravi shivered, adjusting the environmental controls on his uniform. "Like living inside your own skin." Before Zara could respond, a delegation emerged from what appeared to be the main entrance to the city. The Novarians moved with fluid grace, their tall, slender bodies covered in luminescent scales that shifted colors with each movement. The leader of the group stood nearly 7 feet tall, with piercing golden eyes set in a face that reminded Zara of Earth's mantis shrimp, beautiful, alien, and utterly inscrutable. "Commander Novik," the alien spoke, its voice a melodic hum that somehow formed perfect English. "I am Scientific Director Thorne. Welcome to Crystallis Prime." Zara stepped forward, offering the gesture of greeting she'd studied during the journey, right palm open, fingers spread, held at chest level. "Director Thorne, on behalf of Earth Alliance, we extend gratitude for your welcome and hope for mutual understanding between our peoples." Thorne's scales rippled with a pattern of blue and gold, amusement, according to the briefing materials. "Your pronunciation is commendable, Commander. Few non-Novarians attempt our formal greeting protocols." "I believe understanding begins with respect for cultural differences," Zara replied, relaxing slightly. "A perspective we share," Thorne gestured toward the city. "Please, your quarters have been prepared according to your biological requirements. After you've rested, we can begin the formal exchange of knowledge." As they entered the city, Zara felt the temperature shift, becoming more comfortable for human physiology. She noted how the other humans in her team straightened, the tension in their shoulders easing as the environment adapted to them. "You've adjusted your environmental controls for us," she observed. "Of course," Thorne's scales shifted to a gentle green pattern. "Our research team studied the data packet your advanced team provided. We've modified this sector to accommodate your biological needs. Is it satisfactory?" "Very much so," Zara smiled, feeling genuine appreciation. "Thank you for your consideration." Their quarters were spacious chambers with transparent walls that could be adjusted for privacy, furnished with synthesized versions of Earth furniture that were surprisingly comfortable. After settling in and conducting preliminary environmental tests, Zara met with her team to review protocols for the coming days. "Remember," she emphasized to the group of scientists and diplomats gathered in the common area, "we're not just representatives of Earth Alliance. We're the first humans most Novarians will ever meet. Every interaction matters." "Commander," Dr. Jensen, the team's medical officer, raised her hand. "The Novarians have requested genetic samples and physiological data. Standard protocol suggests limited compliance until we better understand their intentions." Zara nodded. "Agreed. We'll provide basic medical data as a show of good faith, but nothing that could compromise Earth security. And nobody undergoes any Novarian medical procedures without my direct approval. The next morning, Thorn guided Zara and select team members through the scientific complex, where Novarian researchers studied everything from quantum physics to biological engineering. The facility hummed with activity, Novarians moving purposefully between stations, their scales shifting through colors as they communicated in ways the human translators couldn't capture. Our civilizations have developed along divergent evolutionary paths, Thorne explained, leading them into a vast chamber filled with holographic displays of what appeared to be neural networks. While your species prioritized physical adaptation and tool creation, Novarians evolved complex neural structures and biochemical communication. Zara studied the displays, fascination overriding her diplomatic reserve. These neural patterns, they're more complex than anything we've documented in Earth species. Yes, Thorne's scales pulsed with what the briefing had identified as pride. Novarian consciousness exists partially outside our physical forms, what you might call a collective unconscious, we experience as a tangible neural network. Fascinating, Zara murmured, reaching toward one of the displays before catching herself. Sorry, may I? Please, Thorne gestured permission. This particular display shows my own neural pattern. As Zara's fingers passed through the hologram, tiny motes of light followed her movement, responding to her bioelectric field. It's responsive, she observed. All Novarian technology responds to neural input, Thorne explained. It's how we interface with our world. Over the following days, Zara found herself spending more time with Thorne than protocol strictly required. The Novarian scientist's perspective challenged her understanding of biology, consciousness, and even what constituted life itself. During their discussions, she often forgot she was speaking with an alien being. Your species is remarkably adaptable, Thorne commented one evening as they reviewed comparative evolutionary data. Humans have survived conditions that would eliminate most species. Necessity and stubbornness, Zara smiled. We're notoriously difficult to kill. A valuable trait, Thorne's scales shifted to a pattern Zara hadn't seen before, deep indigo with flecks of silver. Commander, our research team has proposed an exchange that would significantly advance our mutual understanding. What kind of exchange? Zara asked, her scientist's curiosity warring with her diplomatic caution. A neural mapping procedure, Thorne explained, manipulating the holographic interface to display a complex diagram. Non-invasive, completely safe by human biological standards, it would allow us to directly compare human and Novarian neural processing. Zara studied the diagram. You want to scan my brain. More precisely, we wish to map how your neural pathways process information, emotion, and sensory input, Thorne clarified. The procedure requires no physical contact, merely proximity to our scanning apparatus. Your Earth scans, what you call fMRI and EEG, are primitive approximations of this technology. Zara considered the request. Protocol suggested caution, but the potential scientific value was enormous. Would this scanning work both ways? Could I observe Novarian neural processing? That was our intention. Thorne's scales rippled with what Zara had come to recognize as excitement. A mutual exchange of the most fundamental aspect of our beings, how we perceive and process reality. I'll need to consult with my team, Zara said carefully, and review security protocols. Of course, Thorne's scales settled into a calm blue pattern. Take whatever time you need. The alignment of understanding requires patience. That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She paced her quarters, weighing the risks against the potential breakthrough such neural mapping could represent. By morning, she'd made her decision. I'll participate in the neural mapping, she told Thorne when they met the following day. But with conditions. Dr. Jensen will monitor throughout, and I retain the right to terminate the procedure at any point. Acceptable terms, Thorne's scales pulsed with approval. We can proceed whenever you're prepared. The neural mapping chamber resembled nothing Zara had seen before, a spherical room with walls that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. At the center floated what appeared to be a cloud of luminescent particles. The scanning medium, Thorne explained, nodding her expression. It interfaces with your bioelectric field to map neural pathways without physical contact. Dr. Jensen checked her medical scanner. Everything looks normal, Commander, but I'll monitor continuously. Zara took a deep breath and stepped into the chamber, positioning herself where Thorne indicated. What do I need to do? Simply exist, Thorne said, scales shifting to a focused purple hue. Experience thoughts, emotions, memories, whatever comes naturally. The scanner will do the rest. As the procedure began, Zara felt a subtle tingling across her skin, like static electricity but pleasant. The luminescent particles swirled around her, responding to her presence. On the chamber walls, holographic representations of her neural activity began to form, beautiful and complex. Remarkable, Thorne murmured, studying the patterns. Human neural pathways show unexpected complexity in emotional processing regions. Zara watched, fascinated, as her own thoughts and emotions manifested visually around her. Is this how Novarians perceive consciousness? A simplified representation, Thorne explained. But yes, we perceive neural patterns much as you perceive facial expressions. The scanning continued for nearly an hour, with Thorne occasionally asking Zara to recall specific memories or emotions to observe the corresponding patterns. As the procedure neared completion, the luminescent particles began to pulse more intensely. Is that supposed to happen? Dr. Jensen asked sharply, her scanner beeping in alarm. Thorne's scales suddenly flashed crimson. No, there's an unexpected resonance pattern forming. Before Zara could respond, a surge of energy pulsed through the chamber. The luminescent particles swirled violently, and for a split second, Zara felt as though her consciousness expanded beyond her body. She caught glimpses of memories that weren't her own, crystal cities, strange oceans, the sensation of scales rippling with emotion. Then darkness claimed her. When Zara regained consciousness, she lay in the medical bay of their quarters, Dr. Jensen hovering over her with a scanner. What happened? Zara asked, her voice hoarse. Some kind of energy surge, Jensen replied. Your neural patterns temporarily synchronized with the Novarian scanning field. Thorne shut it down immediately, but she hesitated. But what? There appears to be some residual effect, Jensen said carefully. Your brain chemistry shows unusual activity in regions associated with empathic response and pattern recognition. Zara sat up slowly, noticing immediately that something felt different, as if a new sense had awakened. Where's Thorne? Outside, the Novarians wouldn't let him in after the incident. They seemed, Jensen frowned, searching for the word, afraid. When Zara insisted on seeing him, Thorne was finally permitted to enter. The moment he appeared, Zara gasped. Surrounding his form, she could see what looked like a shimmering aura of neural patterns, the same patterns she'd observed in the scanning chamber. More disturbing was Thorne's reaction. The moment their eyes met, his scales darkened to a deep midnight blue, and he immediately looked away. Commander Novik, he said formally, his voice strained. I must offer profound apologies for the malfunction. Thorne, Zara said, stunned to realize she could somehow sense his emotional state, embarrassment, concern, and something deeper she couldn't identify. What's happening to me? The Novarian scientist still wouldn't meet her eyes. It appears the scanner created an unexpected neural link, a phenomenon we've never observed between different species. A neural link, Zara repeated. You mean I can sense your thoughts? Not thoughts precisely, Thorne clarified, scales shifting nervously. Emotional states, sensory impressions, the framework of consciousness rather than its content. And you, Zara asked, can you sense mine? Thorne's scales darkened further. Yes, which is why I cannot look at you directly. The intimacy is overwhelming by Novarian standards. Zara suddenly understood his discomfort. For a species that communicated partially through neural patterns, this accidental connection was profoundly intimate, like being emotionally naked before a stranger. Can it be reversed? She asked quietly. Unknown, Thorne admitted. This has never occurred before. Our scientists are analyzing the data now. Zara looked at Dr. Jensen, who shrugged helplessly. This is well beyond Earth medical science, Commander. Then we'll figure it out together, Zara said firmly, turning back to Thorne. This may be an accident, but it's also an unprecedented opportunity for understanding between our species. Thorne's scales lightened slightly, though he still wouldn't meet her gaze. Your adaptation to crisis is remarkable, Commander. Like I said, Zara offered a small smile. Humans are notoriously difficult to kill and surprisingly easy to adapt. As she spoke, she felt something shift in the strange new awareness between them, a flicker of what might have been respect, or perhaps something more complex that human emotion had no name for. What had begun as a diplomatic mission had become something far more profound, the first true meeting of minds between human and Novarian, with consequences neither species could predict, the accidental bond. 3 days after the neural mapping incident, Zara found herself isolated in a specialized chamber within the Novarian scientific complex. The walls, composed of a light-absorbing material, dampened the unexpected neural connection she now shared with Thorne. Even through this shielding, she could sense him packing outside, his anxiety manifesting as ripples of deep burgundy in her newly awakened perception. Neural patterns stabilizing, Dr. Jensen reported, studying her medical scanner. Whatever this link is, it's not degrading your brain function. If anything, your neural activity shows enhanced patterns in regions associated with empathic processing. I feel fine physically, Zara admitted, but emotionally, it's overwhelming. I can sense Thorne's feelings even through these walls, like hearing music from another room. Jensen frowned. The Novarian medical team wants to place you in complete isolation while they develop a treatment protocol. I've objected on medical grounds. Thank you, Zara said quietly. Isolation would make this worse, not better. I need to understand what's happening, not hide from it. When the chamber door finally opened, Thorne entered with 2 other Novarians. His scales remained darkened to that midnight blue, and his eyes focused on a point above Zara's head, never meeting her gaze directly. Commander Novak, he began formally, this is neural specialist Vex and elder scientist Ira. They have studied the data from our incident. Vex, a smaller Novarian with quick-shifting scale patterns, stepped forward. Fascinating case. Unprecedented. Your brain architecture shouldn't be compatible with Novarian neural patterns, yet here we are. What exactly happened? Zara asked, directing her question to Thorne, who still wouldn't look at her. Elder Ira answered instead, her ancient scales barely shifting colors as she spoke. The scanning medium serves as a translation interface between neural patterns. Under normal circumstances, it merely observes, but your human bioelectric field created a resonance cascade that fundamentally altered the medium's function. Instead of observing, it connected, Zara concluded. Precisely, Vex's scales flickered with excitement. It found corresponding emotional structures between your brain and Director Thorne's, creating a persistent bridge. Zara noticed Thorne's scales darkening further at this explanation. Through their link, she sensed his discomfort and something deeper, shame perhaps. Can it be reversed? She asked. Elder Ira's scales shifted to a solemn gray. Unknown. This phenomenon has occurred among Novarians only 3 times in our recorded history. Those links became permanent. Permanent? Dr. Jensen interjected. That's unacceptable. Commander Novik needs to return to Earth in 6 weeks. I'm aware of your mission parameters, Thorne finally spoke, still avoiding eye contact. We're exploring all possible solutions. Zara studied him, sensing the conflict beneath his formal exterior. Thorne, look at me. I cannot, he replied, scales rippling with discomfort. By Novarian standards, the neural intimacy would be inappropriate. We're well beyond standard protocols, Zara countered. How can we solve this if you can't even look at me? The room fell silent. Finally, with visible effort, Thorne raised his golden eyes to meet hers. The moment their gazes connected, Zara gasped. The neural link surged, bringing a flood of alien emotions and sensory impressions, not just Thorne's current state but echoes of memories, fragments of knowledge, the strange, beautiful way Novarians perceived the world through both physical and neural senses. Thorne's scales flared with brilliant colors Zara had never seen before, cycling through patterns too quickly to track. The other Novarian stepped back, scales flashing with alarm. Impossible, Elder Era whispered. The depth of neural resonance is profound, Vex finished, scales pulsing with scientific fascination. Their neural patterns are synchronizing further. With tremendous effort, Thorne broke eye contact, turning away. The sudden disconnection left Zara dizzy, gripping the edge of her chair for support. I apologize, Thorne said, his voice tight. That was intense. Yeah, Zara agreed, trying to steady her breathing. That was something else. Later that evening, after the scientists departed, Dr. Jensen remained with Zara in her quarters, monitoring her vital signs. Your brain chemistry is still fluctuating, Jensen observed. Nothing dangerous, but definitely not normal. Define normal, Zara smiled weakly. I just experienced what it feels like to be a different species. I don't think normal applies anymore. The diplomatic implications are concerning, Jensen said carefully. Earth Command needs to be informed. Zara sighed. Draft the report, but hold it for 48 hours. Let's see what the Novarian scientists come up with first. After Jensen left, Zara sat alone, trying to process the chaotic new sensations. Even without direct contact, she could sense Thorne somewhere in the complex, a presence at the edge of her consciousness, distinct and alien yet increasingly familiar. A soft chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. Enter, she called, surprised when Thorne himself appeared. He remained in the doorway, maintaining distance, his scales now a subdued blue-gray. I came to check on your condition, he said formally. Better if you come in properly, Zara replied. Standing there with the door open is making the link echo somehow. Thorne hesitated, then stepped inside, allowing the door to close. Immediately, Zara felt the neural connection clarify, becoming less distracting but more precise. Our scientists continue analyzing the data, he said, still avoiding direct eye contact. But I felt compelled to speak with you privately. About what we both felt when our eyes met, Zara guessed, sensing his discomfort. Yes, Thorne's scales shifted nervously. Among Novarians, such deep neural resonance occurs only between life-bonded pairs. It is considered the most intimate possible connection. You're saying we accidentally got Novarian married? Despite the gravity of the situation, Zara couldn't suppress a small smile. The concept doesn't translate precisely, Thorne replied, scales flickering with what might have been embarrassment. But there are similarities. Is that why the other Novarians keep looking at us strangely? Our society has strict protocols for neural intimacy, Thorne explained. What happened between us violated every one of them. It was unplanned, unconsented between different species. Scandalous, Zara concluded. Unprecedented, Thorne corrected, his scales shifting to a color Zara was beginning to recognize as thoughtfulness. but potentially valuable from a scientific perspective. Is that all it is to you? A scientific anomaly? Zara asked, suddenly aware that she could sense his answer before he spoke. No, Thorn admitted, finally meeting her eyes again. This time the connection between them felt less overwhelming, as if they were learning to control the neural bridge. It is transformative. I experience your emotions, your memories, your way of perceiving reality. It changes everything I understood about consciousness. Through their link, Zara sensed his genuine wonder, his scientific curiosity mingling with something deeper that neither human nor Novarian language adequately expressed. I feel it too, she said quietly. It's like having another sense suddenly activate, seeing colors I never knew existed. They sat in silence for a moment, the neural link humming between them, conveying what words couldn't. The High Council has summoned us, Thorn finally said. They consider this development a potential threat to Novarian neural sovereignty. They may demand extreme measures. Define extreme, Zara said, tensing. Forced neural suppression, possibly your immediate departure from Novaris. His scales darkened. In worst-case scenarios, memory alteration. That's not happening, Zara stated firmly. This link was an accident, but it's also an unprecedented opportunity. Two species sharing direct neural communication. The scientific and diplomatic potential is enormous. Through their connection, she sensed Thorn's agreement, along with his concern. The Council fears what they don't understand, and they don't understand humans. Then we'll have to help them understand, Zara said, standing. When is this Council meeting? Tomorrow. I've been instructed to keep distance from you until then. His scales rippled with what Zara was learning to interpret as irony. Clearly, I'm not following that directive well. Clearly, Zara smiled. But I think we need to understand this connection better before we face the Council. The more information we have, the better our position. What do you suggest? Controlled experiments. Test the limits and capabilities of this link. If we can demonstrate that it's controllable and potentially beneficial, we have a stronger case. Thorn's scales shifted to a pattern Zara hadn't seen before. Determination mingled with something that might have been hope. Logical approach. We have approximately 12 hours before the Council convenes. They worked through the night, documenting the neural link's properties. They discovered that physical proximity strengthened the connection but wasn't necessary to maintain it. Direct eye contact created the most intense bond, while focused meditation could temporarily dampen the effects. Most surprisingly, they found that with practice, they could selectively share specific information through the link, a rudimentary form of direct neural communication. By morning, exhausted but armed with data, they prepared to face the Novarian High Council. As they walked toward the ancient crystal chamber where the council gathered, Zara felt Thorn's anxiety bleeding through their link. They're traditional, even by Novarian standards, he explained. Neural sovereignty is central to our culture's ethical framework. I understand, Zara replied, but sometimes traditions need to evolve. The council chamber was imposing, a vast crystalline dome where 9 elder Novarians sat in a semicircle, their scales barely shifting colors, indicating their rigid emotional control. As Zara and Thorn entered, she sensed the collective disapproval radiating from the gathered elders. Scientific Director Thorn, the central figure, addressed them. You appear before this council to address the neural contamination incident involving the human delegate. High Elder, Thorn responded formally. What occurred was not contamination but communication, an unprecedented neural bridge between species. Unprecedented does not mean beneficial, another council member interjected. This aberration threatens the neural integrity that has defined our civilization for millennia. Zara stepped forward. With respect, elders, what threatens civilization is not new understanding but fear of it. What happened between Director Thorn and myself was unplanned, yes, but the results offer extraordinary possibilities. The human speaks of possibilities while ignoring consequences, a third elder said dismissively. Your species has no concept of neural ethics. Zara felt a surge of frustration but controlled it, aware that Thorn could sense her emotional state. On the contrary, much of human history has been dedicated to understanding consciousness and ethical interaction between minds. Our methods differ from yours, but our concerns are similar. Through their link, she felt Thorn's approval and support. He moved to stand beside her, a gesture that caused visible disturbance among the council members. We have spent the night documenting the properties of this neural connection, Thorn said, projecting their findings onto the chamber's crystalline walls. What we've discovered suggests not a threat but an evolutionary step forward in interspecies communication. For the next hour, they presented their findings, demonstrating how the link functioned and the potential applications, from diplomatic understanding to scientific collaboration to new forms of communication technology. Throughout the presentation, Zara sensed the council's skepticism gradually shifting toward cautious curiosity. Your data is compelling, the High Elder finally acknowledged, but incomplete. Such a connection has never been studied long-term. Then allow us to continue our research, Zara proposed, under whatever supervision the council deems appropriate. If the link proves dangerous or uncontrollable, we'll accept your intervention. The council members communicated silently through their own neural network, their scales shifting in patterns too subtle for Zara to interpret. Finally, the High Elder spoke again. We will permit continued research under strict protocols. You will remain in the scientific complex, monitored at all times. At the first sign of neural degradation or sovereignty violation, intervention will be immediate. Relief flooded through both Zara and Thorn, their shared emotion amplifying through their link. Thank you, High Elder, they said almost simultaneously. As they left the council chamber, Zara felt a new determination flowing between them. Whatever had happened in that scanning chamber, whatever this link meant for their futures, they would face it together, human and Novarian, connected in a way no two beings from their species had ever been before. So, Zara said as they walked back toward the research complex, what's the Novarian protocol for accidentally getting neural married to an alien? Thorn's scales rippled with what she now recognized as amusement. There isn't one. We're writing the protocols as we go. Terrifying, Zara admitted. Yet fascinating, Thorn added, his golden eyes meeting hers directly for the first time without hesitation. Through their link, Zara felt his complete thought, terrifying yet fascinating, just like the vast universe that had brought their species together across impossible distances to create something entirely new. To unprecedented possibilities, she said, offering her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Thorn's scaled hand clasped hers. The neural link flared brilliantly between them, a bridge between worlds that neither had imagined possible just days before.